community, our hometown. This is Kearney Live on 102.7 FM, our hometown radio station. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney, 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
Yes, indeed. I love the sound of that. Our live studio audience here. You're listening to Kearney Live, the most popular radio program on the planet. Yes, and produced and directed by one Brian Watts. That's him right there. Right there. Yep. And you see that guy sitting behind him?
Sitting behind
you know who that guy is?
Yeah, I know who that is.
That's Gunnar Trammell, 2 M's, 2 L's. And, yes, he was our nice smile there, Gunnar. He was our summer intern, and he's back for a turn here.
Back for more.
You guys
Right?
almost look like you're wearing the same shirt.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you know,
Man,
he's.
look at
I think imitation is clearly the highest form of flattery.
Dressing like his hero.
And
That's
that
right.
voice that you hear right now is the guy that he'll tell you he's kind of a big deal.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
He
Truer
is.
words were ever spoken.
Indeed. And welcome to the show, Jim. And I'm good seeing you here.
It's good to be
always.
seen.
Something tells me that the new job that you have is really actually work. You're actually working.
He's not used to that.
I remember a point at which Jim started with an unnamed airline, and it just seemed like you never went to work.
That's right.
Those were beautiful days. They're over now.
I think you took the summer off. It was like grade school.
Yeah, the summer of 2020.
Right.
20. Well, it would have been last year, I guess. 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's a nice gig.
But I also had a nice little stretch there in the fall of 2018, I think.
Yeah.
If that was right.
It's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
And hold on to it. And then they,
Right.
they started shuffling stuff around, and that all went away.
Indeed. Most importantly, well, let me do this. Before I get to Shawna Searcy, I gave it away. Shawna, all right, I just did it. Shawna's here. Welcome to the show,
Hi,
Shawna.
thank you.
Shawna is with, let me make sure I get this right, with the Kearney Area Development Council. I got it wrong off the air, and I was corrected by a number of people.
You nailed it that time.
Nailed it! And welcome to the show. We're going to talk about some very important stuff regarding the use tax.
Yes, sir.
But I don't think I can put this next guy on camera because everything is locked down. But I do want to
Make it
say,
a surprise.
you talk about an old friend of the show, and I want to emphasize the friend part more than the old part. But
You're not going to say his name, are you? Because that's going to ruin the surprise.
it's not going to be a surprise because I'm going to introduce him right here. Dr. Bill Nicely is in studio with us today. Yes, that's that audience. You can't hear it, Bill, because you don't have a headset on, but you just got a dandy round of applause from a live studio audience. Got to make that up. Is that true, Jim?
It's very true. There they are.
There it is. Anything you see on video is true.
Got to be true.
Yes, it's got to be true.
That's what I hear. And Facebook.
All right, Jim, is there anything, do I need to turn it over to you for any announcements or anything that we might possibly want our audience to know before we get started?
Go Bulldogs.
Indeed.
Because the
Yes.
playoffs, the district championship playoffs start Friday. That'll be carried live on 102.7 FM KPGZ. So you can listen to the game there. Or you can listen to it on the Tuner Radio app. It's available there anywhere in the city, state, or around the country, or as we well know, around the world. Do the people in Germany still listen?
Yes.
Do they? I hadn't checked in lately to see that, but I did know they did for a while. So we have followers in Germany. But I think that is. Am I missing anything, Brian?
Kearney Air. What is it? The Halloween blast this weekend over at the firehouse and the and Lions Park, they're having a big thing. So trunk or treating and mazes and
that's on
all
the
sorts of good
website if you
stuff.
need details on that.
Yep, yep.
Because
It's so fun.
kind of caught you off guard on
Love
that.
it.
Oh, do you know about it?
We go every year.
We'll talk about it.
We have so much fun.
Fill us in.
I mean, it's so much fun. If you haven't been, your kids all, it's tradition. We go every year.
So you're saying
It's so much
it's
fun.
fun.
Yeah. I can say it one more time if you want.
No, I'm
yeah,
good.
it's
So,
it's really fun.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, it's so much fun.
It's so
Yes.
Well,
That's-
now I'm curious. It's there. There's enough mystery there. The way you presented it makes me want to
it
go.
could go either way.
Yes.
No,
Well, no.
the reason we like it is especially when you have little kids, you get to do all that trick or treating in a really short amount of space, and you get to see your businesses, and they can promote themselves. But it's also just a really easy way to take little kids trick or treating.
Hey, now.
Man, that sounds like
That-
a lot of
So-
fun.
Spoken
Yeah.
like a parent. I love that.
Yeah,
yes.
it's convenient.
Yes. Very good. Well, Shawna, let's get busy with this use tax thing. I think it's confusing to everyone because we were asking some very specific questions as you walked in the door, in fact. And let's try and explain. Listen, there are people out there. We see it on social media. They're saying, hey, it's just another $600,000 they want the city of Kearney and the citizens of Kearney to pay. Well, I don't see it that way. And can you tell me why I don't see it that way? Can you tell these people why it isn't that way?
Well, I don't know how you can tell me how you see it that way. But yeah, it's really, I know it seems complicated, and I think there are a couple of reasons for that. Are you okay with me kind of digging into why I find it not so complicated? By the way,
that's why you're here.
Before
Please.
Shawna starts rambling, please go to the city's website.
Yes.
Check out the use tax page. I really tried to create the content on that page so that it was significantly simpler to understand than I think any of us found it to be so in the past. And actually, thank you to 102.7 for recording those videos
You're welcome.
of the mayor.
I was just going to say, because there's information on the website. There is 3 or 4 videos out there. There's videos on our Facebook page. There's videos on our Twitter. I think there's videos on Prime Broadcast Group. They're everywhere.
Right, they're everywhere.
So there's plenty of, and then all of them have links to like little questions and all that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all been very well done. The ones of the mayor were officially created for the city of Kearney's website. They are educational only. Everything that you all have done has sort of taken a step further and be encouraging and promotional. The city staff can really only educate. But this is really a two-pronged thing. And I honestly think each piece is quite simple to understand. It's the fact that both exist that I think is throwing people a little. So by definition, a use tax is applied to goods that are purchased from online vendors out of state. So what does that mean? So if you shop local, which please do, shop Kearney, they pay local sales tax, obviously. If you get online and I go to my favorite store in Herman and I buy something online, this doesn't apply there either. This is specifically to businesses who exist outside of the state of Missouri and we're buying their stuff online. So it's just a niche of folks that are not having to collect those taxes, whereas everybody else is. And so this really closes that gap and makes it so that it's sort of across the board, 3%. So there is that, which that really explains it is not a double tax, right? Because there's these 3 different groups. And if you live in Kearney, you're paying sales tax. If you shop somewhere in Missouri, you're fine. It's when this other group is not currently being taxed. So it is not a double tax. And then there is the other piece that exists, which is simply if Shawna Searcy, resident of Kearney, goes and buys a car on the Kansas side, Kearney gets to keep those revenue dollars right now because I live here. And according to state statutes, this is state of Missouri law, if a use tax isn't in place by November 2022, they lose that revenue as well.
Right. And I think that was the thing we were trying to sort of clear up.
Yeah.
Listen, you're going to pay those sales taxes. If you buy a car in Kansas, you're going to pay those sales tax dollars anyway, but you're not going to be double taxed on it.
No, never.
If this is passed. What we're trying to do with the use tax, what the city's trying to do, is to lay claim to that money it's going to come back into somewhere we're uncertain of, in the coffers of maybe a general fund, I'm not sure, in the state of Missouri. Now, if we pass the use tax, it won't just be left out in this sort of this wonderland of wherever that tax money goes to the Missouri Department of Revenue, I guess. No, we're going to get a percentage of that right here in Kearney, Missouri. That's the way it works. You're not going to pay it twice. It's not just another tax for the citizens of Kearney. It was explained to us in the literature that there was some $600,000 left on the table.
Yes, sir. If we had a use tax a couple years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
That is money that we could have potentially had, and we're not asking the people of Kearney to cough up that $600,000 at all. We're just trying to say, no, that money's coming in anyway, and that's where they came up with that number. What we're trying to say is vote for the use tax, and that money comes to Kearney, Missouri, and you don't pay anything more.
Yeah.
Am I right about that?
I have received a couple questions, and I'm glad you brought it up. There have been so many good questions. People saying, well, I don't want to pay sales tax on my car. Well, you already do, right? This is simply making sure that Kearney keeps getting those revenue dollars. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's this two-pronged thing that sort of creates some level of confusion. So trying to simplify it down and fully understand each concept makes it so much easier.
Okay, here's another example then. Yeah. Amazon is already charging. Anybody that uses Amazon right now, if you live in Missouri and you order something on Amazon, you're going to see the tax, the Missouri tax, that's charged right there. If you live in Kearney, you're not going to pay that twice. You've already paid it to Amazon. Again, we're laying claim. We're trying to say, okay, we want that money back. We want our 3% of that revenue that's being charged to citizens of the state of Missouri. Specifically, if you live in Kearney, Missouri, then you benefit from this. Kearney will benefit from money that you're already spending if you order from Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yeah, the city is pretty boxed in. A couple people have asked, why does it have to be this? Why do you have to do it this way? Well, between the state statute and challenges like Amazon, they are quite boxed in. This is the way it has to be addressed.
Well, do you know that there are other cities surrounding us? Shawna Searcy?
Nearly all of them.
Right.
I haven't checked with Holt, but I know that Smithville, Excelsior, Liberty, a significant amount of cities. Gladstone.
And do you know why they are? Because they said, we're not letting that money slip away. We're not going to let that just sit on a table somewhere and then just wave bye-bye a couple of years later to $500,000 or more. We're not going to let that happen. If you vote for the use tax, that will stop. You'll get the money, just like Excelsior and Gladstone.
Yeah, and there really is this,
and Liberty, sorry.
And Liberty, yeah. And interestingly, I'm not sure, from what I see on Facebook, I'm not sure a lot of people, this is just for City of Kearney residents. Perhaps what some people probably don't know is Clay County residents actually are also already paying a use tax. If you live outside of city limits, you're actually already paying this use tax.
Right.
This is just City of Kearney folks who are not. So
I get the part that kind of surprised me is because, like Mike said, Gladstone has it, even Kansas City has it, Excelsior Spring, all those people have it. And when it came up for a vote, it was kind of a no-brainer, and then it got here to Kearney, and I was shocked last.
I don't think that's true. So I would have to go back and check the campaign records for each community, of course. But it's actually it's been pretty common that it's taken most communities 2 or 3 tries to pass this thing, and I think it's been demonstrated why it is complicated. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it sure can be.
Well, it's got the word tax in it.
It has the word
so
tax.
That's a negative
and there's these
right
two
out of the
pieces.
gate.
I think that's okay. In the city, the first round, it was really just city staff put this stuff together. Here's the type of projects it'll be associated with, and it just wasn't enough. So when the mayor asked me to lead this particular committee, I said, we're going to really dig in here and be super transparent, super promotional on the educational side. I really encouraged the creation of another group who was able to work on more of the promotional stuff. And that is, we really haven't gotten it to it yet. But I was very specific and said, first we need to talk about, this is with the Board of Aldermen, by the way. We had a great brainstorming session with them. So we need to be very specific. What kind of projects do you want to fund if we do this? And not only that, if we've got $600,000, if that's our working number, okay, let's break it down. So 2 new police officers in their cars, $150,000. Okay, what's next, right? So we dug in pretty deep because I really wanted people to feel like there was nothing being hidden. They knew exactly where these dollars are going, you know.
I do. And you call it the, was it the 4 Ps or the...
Yeah,
the
police, pets, parks, and pathways.
Right. And I see right here, if you go to the 1027 KearneyMo.com website, and you'll see on our news page, there is a city releases use tax funded pathways plan. And this talks specifically about the new trails. And again, we talk about a use tax of 3% would be collected on goods purchased from out-of-state vendors who are currently not paying local sales tax. So more trails.
Yes. So actually, I'm so glad you brought that up because they called it pathways. So for this particular use, you will see that it is a sidewalk on Nation Road near Cottonwood. That's what this particular sidewalk will be funded on this project. But the city released that cool map and identified all sorts of other pathways, whether it's sidewalks or trail connections that have been identified, prioritized. And I thought that was cool. I thought the city did a good job demonstrating, guys, we don't stop here. These are the other projects this sorts of, this funding can help pay for. I thought that was a cool map.
I do too, and you'd have to search for it. You might want to go to our archive on the news page and just click on
you
October.
can look at it on our screen if you're watching on KMO-TV.
There's that.
If you're driving in your car on the radio, you're
out of
probably
luck.
not going to see it. So don't look at your screen and wreck your car. So looking at it another way, because I think a lot of people have seen or heard what it does do. I guess what I'd like to try to do is the people who are objecting to it, to try and get some understanding out there, because I've seen some things said that are just, what's the word I'm looking for? Wrong?
Misinformation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean...
It may not even be intentional, but
No,
there's a lot of
I'm not saying it
misinformation
is.
out
I'm
there.
just saying
Yeah.
I've read it and I'm like, okay, that's not even remotely correct. And I saw one that was out there. We'll leave that alone. But so how can we kind of alleviate some of these misunderstandings of what it is or isn't? We've talked about the double tax, getting taxed more than once. I've heard some about it's a tax increase. That's not right. I've heard, what was the other? There was another, we were talking about it.
Well, I think it was the one
forget.
where the gentleman specifically said, well, this is just another tax that they're asking the citizens of Kearney to cough up. And it's not. It's just not that.
Yeah, I've seen several things, and good for these people for engaging, asking good questions. It has turned into some confusing misinformation. I'm sure that's not intentional. But yeah, so it's really this disparity. No one has to be told. Our cities rely significantly on sales tax revenue for their general fund. That's where they get their operational dollars. And as is true across the nation, across the world, e-commerce sales have risen dramatically. So there's really two parts of it. One, there is a disparity there. To your point, there is this disparity where all these local businesses are expected to collect local sales tax, and at the same rate, the use tax is 3%, by the way, and it associates directly with sales tax. If sales tax goes up or down, so does the use tax. They always match up. So there's just this disparity with this one group of businesses out of state that are just, so it's trying to line them up, to try to close that gap, close that disparity. But my other point, excuse me, my other point is that the cities are going to be in real trouble if we can't find a way to modernize the tax code a little bit. There's a reason that the state of Missouri passed this bill, because the cities, that's where most of their money is coming from. So if we continue to buy all of our items on Amazon, I sure hope we don't, but whether it's Amazon or your favorite business in Columbus, Ohio, if we keep doing that more and more and more, our cities are going to have a real problem
and
funding
know
our
that,
basic services.
Right. You as a citizen, I think this is the important part, are already paying that tax, right? You're already paying it. And you're shaking your, yes.
At the local level, yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of an interesting thing, and maybe some people, because we've gotten so accustomed to the Amazons of the world, have forgotten. But this was a big issue several years ago, because what happened was okay, and not to go down in the weeds here, but your city, no matter where you live, needs tax revenue to survive. It just does. That's what pays for, things that you
Sidewalks,
take for granted.
parks.
Yeah, things that you take for granted. When you need the police, they show up. You don't have to sit there and insert a credit card in your phone to get them to come out yet.
Yeah.
So then when...
Interesting concept.
You like that? Then when the Amazons of the world came into play, the big thing was that everybody realized it, and the funny thing was, it took a while. All the people who were buying, you use light bulbs, so that's a nice generic thing. Let's use light bulbs. All the light bulbs you were buying, now suddenly the tax revenue from that went away because people started ordering it online through Amazon and that sort of thing.
And that is an item you can buy in Kearney. So it really is a good example.
So now you have unrealized revenue because you didn't realize, how important that was. That money is no longer coming to the city in which you made the purchase. In other words, you're sitting in your house in Kearney. You're going to use your light bulb in Kearney. I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So the light bulb came on. See where I went there?
I like what you did there.
With the politicians, oh my gosh, all these people are buying light bulbs, but now they're buying them on Amazon, and there's no tax. And at the time, there was no tax collected, period. That was a big loophole.
Yeah. Missouri was actually the last state. It's called Wayfair. I won't get into why, but it's called the Wayfair legislation. And Missouri was the last state in the United States to adopt the Wayfair legislation.
Missouri's a good state to live in if you don't like high taxes.
Sure.
And that's a good thing.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think they waited and really until the last minute, because they recognize that, yes, area cities need that tax revenue.
Yeah, it became a critical thing.
Yes.
I like to compare it to, Missouri relies on car sales tax, like gas tax revenue to pay for updated bridges and roads and maintenance and that sort of thing. And then they started to see a drastic decline, better gas efficiency, electric cars, whatever. It really started to impact the fund that helps pay for those roads and bridges. So this is really the exact same thing. It's just a modernization. This is, and for the state of Missouri to recognize this is getting bad enough that our cities are going to really hurt if this doesn't get fixed.
By the way, I have heard, talking about that extra, the $600,000, and I believe that was from a 2018 study.
Yeah,
so if one looks a little further beyond 2018, that we're talking more like $800,000. We're talking, folks, we're getting close to $1 million on the table for Kearney, Missouri. That's what this is about. It's already out there. All we're saying is vote for the use tax, and we start to get our fair share in Kearney, Missouri, of that money that's there that we can use for the parks, for the pets, for the police.
Yeah, and that was part of it. You see comments like, oh, the city just wants more money in their coffers.
Nonsense.
And this does go to the general revenue fund because that's the sort of fund that pays for these types of projects. But that's why I was so encouraging, be so specific about the types of projects you will use this on so that the residents really understand. Yeah, it's going into the general revenue fund, but here is what we're going to spend it on for you. So that was the purpose behind the specificity there.
Okay, so I got that off my chest. I
feel better.
I feel better. Well, I know, but I just want to make sure that people understand that no, we're not just asking you to get your wallets out. Just stop with that. That's not what this is about. And I think very specific. Listen, go on Amazon right now and buy something. Buy a light bulb. I don't care. You're going to pay a tax. And all we're saying is, okay, we want our 3% tax, right? We want that. We want our fair share of that. Like, guess who else is getting it? Like Gladstone, like Liberty, like Excelsior. And all we're saying is we need to pass this thing in Kearney so we can catch up with these surrounding cities. That's it. Yeah. That's all we're saying.
These businesses have to respect the local tax code. That's how those areas get their revenue. And if there's not a use tax that they have to respect, then we don't get those dollars.
And if you buy a car in Iowa or Kansas or wherever, you're going to pay that tax anyway.
Oh, sure.
You're not going to pay a double tax, though. No. You're going to pay one or the other. You're going to pay a use tax or a sales tax. You pay a sales tax here in Kearney. Mm-hmm. If you go down to pick a business, go over to Stables. There's going to be sales tax on your check. You're going to pay that.
And this is the equivalency.
But you're not right.
This is the equivalency.
Yeah.
So, but to counter what Mike said, okay, now don't go to Amazon and actually buy the light bulb. Go shop local and buy the light bulb.
Yeah.
Go test it and see what it would.
You're that kid in class, Jim.
Well, I didn't
he's a
want.
teacher's pet. He's looking
Mike,
for extra credit.
Mike told us to go to Amazon and buy our light bulbs.
Yeah.
I can see that happening already.
Really, though, you're going to pay the local sales tax at Porters and Nuts and Bolts, and you may not have to if you order that product from certain businesses on Amazon.
But wouldn't you rather support your local businesses? I'd rather support Ace and Porters.
Yeah, but I think too the problem that's come about, and this is just reality, is that people, especially after the Rona thing, people got used to they got used to online shopping, and it's one of those things. Once you get started, it's hard to go back. Yeah. Because people are like, wait a minute, I ordered all this stuff and it showed up on my doorstep.
And it's a great convenience. And it is a perfect example, Jim. And so what we're saying is, let's get the revenue that we're already paying, that we're already being taxed.
Yeah, I guess that's my point. It's not like, so you can't say, well, we'll go back to the stores starting next month or something like that. Yes. Probably not.
Probably not. But even if you do, like, this is actually a 2019 number. When I was working on this language, why is it so important? In 2019, e-commerce sales rose 14.9% and represented 11% of total sales. That was in 2019.
So 20's got to be, it's probably pushing 20% or more,
yeah,
honestly.
I'm sure it's significant.
Yeah.
So this is just a disparity that has to be closed. Like I said, if the Missouri legislature is at the point where they're willing to identify this as a problem, then it's a problem. And for better or worse, the use tax is the avenue we have to take to fix it. We're sort of boxed in.
Right.
It has to be a use tax.
But at least the state of Missouri is sort of waving the flag and saying, hey, you guys, you can have this.
Yeah. But by the way, you better do it by November 2022.
Yes. So there's an
urgency. You're going to lose some dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And when is Election Day?
November 2nd.
There you go. That's right around the corner.
It is listed as City of Kearney Question. It's not titled use tax. City of Kearney Question is what you will be voting on.
We need a yes vote on the City of Kearney Question. It's as simple as that. Right? And there it is, Brian. It's got the ballot language is. I can't read it from here. But even if I did, you wouldn't understand it because it's written by lawyers.
Sure is. It's actually simpler than it was in April, if you can believe that.
All right. And I see, and yes is your first choice. Go with the first choice. Remember on your multiple choice test questions, they used to say the answer was buried in the middle. Well, that's not true in this case. Vote yes. Use that answer that's on the outside.
I can actually read it on the different monitor. I'm not going to read all that.
Darn it.
Vote yes, unless you want me to.
Don't.
But
it doesn't say that in the ballot language, but yeah.
Well, and that's what we're trying. Listen, in all honesty, that's what we're trying to do is clear this up because I think there are so many misconceptions. And man, I am with you all. I do not like paying taxes. Who does? You know, I've got a business here in Kearney. I've got another business that's another place, and I'm telling you, you get taxed at every single turn. I am with you. But what I'm saying here is you benefit as a citizen of this wonderful community and the infrastructure. All you got to do is look around. Gosh, we're over there for the opening of the Splash Plaid Lab. I said it again. I could never get it through out of my mouth without saying plaid. I know.
I can't say
and I'm wearing Splash Plaid shirt today.
Flat Clay Electric Cooperative halftime show or whatever it is. I never can say.
But watching that whole thing open up, we were there for the grand opening. It was a wonderful experience. And folks, that's what we're talking about. That sort of thing right there. You are listening to Kearney Live. Come back. We're not going anywhere. Stay with us.
You love the programming? Say a special thank you to the underwriters like these who support KPGZ.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And welcome back to Kearney Live. I am your host, Mike Davis, along with Jim Dickerson and Brian Watts, the hardest working man in Kearney, Missouri. And we have on the show with us right now Dr. Bill Nicely. Dr. Bill Nicely, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Now, you are as many folks know, and many might not know, you are the former school superintendent here in the Kearney, Missouri area, Kearney Area School District. You looked at me in a funny way when I said that.
No, that's exactly right.
Okay, good.
Retired almost a year and a half ago.
Words are kind of hard for Mike. He gets confused. We have to help him along.
I know about him.
This is true. This is true. I'll keep, the words just keep coming out anyway, even if they're not true. But that's not true either. I only lie when my mouth is open. Wait a minute, that's not true. Right? That's funny, right? All right. The reason you're here, Bill, and we're free to call you Bill because every day is a Saturday for you. You're retired. It's a wonderful thing. And we've been talking about the use tax. And I think listen, the most important thing, if we don't accomplish anything today, I would like to sort of help people understand that this isn't just, we're not just asking folks to cough up another $500,000. I mean, this is not that. But let's be real clear about your role in this initiative.
Yeah, and I would classify myself as an advocate for the tax. Shawna is an employee of the city. Well, how do we say that? Quasi-employee, perhaps, of the city, and the city folks can present facts only, just like any campaign. I think back to the school district bond issues that we passed.
Right.
I, as an employee of the district, could only talk about facts. I couldn't encourage you or persuade you to vote yes. I'm not that person anymore. I don't work for the city. I'm Joe Citizen. I'm Bill Citizen, Kearney, and I still live in this town. I still love this town, and I know about operations of cities, municipalities, and school districts. I know a lot about that, and I know that it takes money to run them. And I know what decreasing revenue looks like. And for all the reasons that Shawna described as she presented so eloquently the facts, the city of Kearney is experiencing that. And so I'm simply here to advocate for this ballot issue and a yes vote. And I can say, she can't say vote yes. I can say vote yes because it's that important. And here's the thing I think about. And I buy stuff on Amazon all the time, but I also support my local businesses. I just came from Porter's Lumber and ordered 3 or 4 sticks of lumber that's going to be delivered to my house on Monday, and I love that place. They're super helpful. It's important to support local businesses, but just know that right now there's an uneven playing field because the taxes that they're charging and for local businesses aren't necessarily being charged or the city of Kearney certainly isn't receiving for those businesses that are out of state. And so in some ways, this simply evens the playing field. But more importantly, as we heard today, when we order things on Amazon, what this really does is redirects those tax dollars to the city of Kearney for our own benefit. And I shop local, and at the same time, I also purchase items online. In both of those cases, I am paying tax dollars. One of them benefits the city that I live in and the city that I love. The other one doesn't. And so this simply is fixing that issue by redirecting those dollars.
That is probably the best word. We've been looking for that word for 3 months now.
Redirect.
Redirects.
Yep.
Why couldn't we have thought of that?
We're not that smart.
Apparently not. Well, I'm glad you're here. But no, that's the best way I've heard it put, period, because it gets the money. Look, the services that you have here in Kearney that you take for granted, it's one of those things you don't miss it till it goes away.
They will be impacted. Yeah.
When you start to lose revenue that is unrealized because it was directed to the wrong, I don't want to say to the wrong place. It was directed, someone else is going to benefit from it and not Kearney. We need to make sure that the money that you're paying gets redirected. That is the world's greatest word. We ought to put that on our website.
Right. Listen,
that's the whole thing, is to get it back here where it needs to be.
And I
bought it here.
In all seriousness, Jim, I would challenge anybody that knows, anybody here in Kearney who knows folks who are living in Liberty, Excelsior Springs, Gladstone, to pick one of those three and give them a call and say, how much has the use tax in your city impacted you personally? And I bet they're going to say, I don't even notice it, because you shouldn't. That's not the point. If it's not here, though, I can guarantee you will notice it. It'll be conspicuous by its absence, because the things that the infrastructure and police, parks, pets, and so forth, those are the kinds of things that sales taxes pay for. And if you're just letting that money fly away someplace else, and we're apparently unclear on where it is, but we'll just call it the general fund in the state of Missouri, or the Missouri Department of Revenue, you're just asking for trouble when the money is there. And the state of Missouri is saying, here, with this use tax, if you vote on this thing before, what is the date?
November 2nd.
No, well,
is that right?
Yeah, the deadline is 20-something. I didn't hear you.
22, yeah.
Yeah, nonetheless, 22. So they're saying, get this thing done, folks, and the money's yours. It's there. It's yours for the taking. You just need to climb aboard, just like Excelsior and Gladstone and Liberty and others have done.
So I'll go one further on, you said go ask people in Liberty, Excelsior, and Gladstone and all that, how the use tax is impacting them. I would lay odds, because they voted for it some time ago.
Improvement.
They would probably go, the what tax?
Yeah.
They don't even know it's, they've probably forgotten about
and
it by now.
they've been benefiting from the cities have been. I really like this, the 4 Ps. I like the idea that the city has said we're going to specifically target these dollars, and they're going to be ongoing dollars. But here's the first round. Police. This is a growing community, and if for anybody who is, just about everybody, I'm sure, has driven south on I-35 and continues to see that creep towards Kearney with regard to growth, what that tells me is that we're going to need a strong police department because folks are coming this direction and continue to move this direction. We have the best police department ever, right? They do a great job, and they advocate for community and family and my passion, which is kids. And these tax dollars are going to provide additional police support, which we absolutely need. The pet component, again. What happens in a growing community? Well, you have a kennel for stray dogs and cats, but that problem grows as the community grows. This vote yes takes care of that. And of course, my passion is parks and pathways as well. So the first round is for sidewalks out on Nation Road. This is very close to Dogwood Elementary School. So This will provide an opportunity for those kids that live in the subdivisions close by to utilize that sidewalk in a safe way. That's really important. I've advocated for sidewalks and pathways in this community for a long time. There is a long-term solution that the city has laid out. It's on their website. Take a look at that map. It really is informative as to what's going to happen with regard to the sidewalks, pathways for this first go-around, if there is a yes vote, but not just the first go-around, the next phase and the phase after that, so on and so forth.
Okay, we had an interesting comment from a listener. They said, seriously, you can't redirect something that isn't collected to begin with. And there was an LOL after that, so I'm going to say, well, okay.
When I purchase from Amazon, I look at it and I get a message that says, we're going to take this tax, we're going to add this tax to your purchase based upon what we believe is the tax rate for your state, right? And that includes local and statewide tax. What happens is that those tax dollars go to the state, but the local portion is never received by us, where it is received by all of our neighbors. So in fact, I can't say I'm not a tax scholar. I can't say specifically that it is exactly redirecting, but that's in my mind, that's what it is.
Well, I think so. And I think the concept, though, is, and this is what the point we're trying to make, is we're not just trying to, bilk the citizens of Kearney out of another $500,000 or pick a number. It's really, that's getting closer to more like $1 million of sales tax revenues that right now, if we don't do this, if we don't pass this before November the 22nd, that money, we'll never see a cent of it. We'll never see a cent of it. And so what we're saying is by passing the use tax, we will indeed have an additional influx of money that's already being charged for different purchases. And I don't know any other better way to explain it, Bill.
I think that's right. And we could get into the nitty-gritty details and bring in a tax expert and really find the answer to that question in legal detail. But the fact of the matter is, I like to think more broadly. And for voters, number one, come out and vote, right? And number two, vote yes on this particular issue. Both are really important here. For those of us who are community members that live in the city of Kearney, we have to ask ourselves, I'm already paying these taxes, number one. But number two, how small a dollar amount is that annually for me to pay for these things that I purchase on goods that reside originally outside of the state of Missouri, in comparison to what value I get as a community member for these 4 Ps, for police, pets, parks, and pathways. We have to think community, in my estimation, and that's part of the reason I'm on this. It's bigger than one person's willingness to pay taxes or not pay taxes, right? It is a small ask on the part of each one of us, and a big get on the part of the community, which we all benefit from.
Excellent point.
This is and I'll use the examples of the pathways again because I just talked about it. This is a great example of ongoing benefit that this initiative will bring after a yes vote, majority yes vote. The pathways the sidewalks will continue to be added to the areas making our community safer for adults and kids. Within the website, you can see there's an opportunity for the city to connect the trail system, which is an important part of both existing residents, what they want to see. We've seen that in survey after survey, but also it's an amenity that families look for when moving to a town or a community. And for this city to have that amenity is going to be a big plus and will continue to mean positive growth for the city. So the benefit is now, but it also continues into the future.
All right, so here's the deal. If you don't go outside Kearney and you don't spend any money outside Kearney, and you're going to your favorite retailer here in Kearney, and that's the only place you spend money, fine. Then you may have a point. You may indeed have a point. Then I don't want to pay that extra money on the internet or whatever. Okay, but yeah, and that's the point. You're not going to spend any more. But what we're saying is that all of that revenue that you're likely already paying, we know for a fact you're already paying it on Amazon. And in many other, frankly, I can't tell you that anything I've bought recently online, and my wife and I both, because I think that's exclusively where we shop nowadays, because it's just so darn convenient. I can't think of any one single purchase that hasn't already been charged Missouri state sales tax in the past 2 years or more, at least since COVID, and that's been a year and a half. And then we've just discovered the convenience of shopping online for darn near anything that you can think of, including groceries. So all we're saying is you're already paying it. You're all likely already paying it. And we're saying we want to redirect. We want to redirect that money to Kearney that is rightfully ours if you make that purchase here in Kearney. Right?
That's exactly right.
As a Kearney resident?
That's exactly right. And it is, we have to think twofold. One is, as a Kearney resident, do I want a strong infrastructure in this town? As we travel, all of us travel, whether we're just going down to Liberty or whether we're going through downtown or wherever, the towns that have a strong infrastructure, the towns and communities that have that are well taken care of, it is tax dollars that funds those quality amenities, right? The ones that don't, we notice right away, don't we? When we drive through those towns, we see those communities, whether they're large or small, suburban, urban, or rural. The ones that are well kept, we know that those are it looks like a great place to live.
Here's a good example of that, Cairo, Illinois.
Yes,
and that's an unfortunate. And I hate to interrupt you, but that just reminded me, driving through that poor little town that used to be a going concern on the Mississippi River, now is just a ghost town. Yep. And it was a big going concern because it had shipping and river traffic all over it. It was a logistical center, and it is gone, folks. It's gone.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's a great analogy or a great example. And another one would be school districts. Same thing. When communities support their school districts provide for the community and for the community's children. Same goes for city. This is a two-way proposition. It requires both parties to be involved. Community members saying, yes, this is important to me, and taking the time to go out and vote, taking the time to vote yes, and then the community, the cities themselves to say, we believe this is important, and we want to provide a high-quality place to live for those existing residents and for those folks that are coming in. It's that simple. In this particular case, to see very specifically what those dollars are going to be spent on, it would be hard to make an argument that these aren't important. All of them are very important. It would be hard to argue otherwise. And so I think it's just, if we really think about it, we can grumble and make arguments and postulate as to why we should vote no. But the reality is it's the right thing to do.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is everybody talks about, Kearney has a great police department, Kearney has a great school district, Kearney has a great this, great that. And then you start to kind of take it for granted. But all that stuff costs money, and you have to keep funding it. And if you run into, like you said, the community's growing, therefore it takes more to provide for more people. Now, granted, you have an influx of tax revenue that comes in from when people come in, but you want to capitalize on every dollar that you can, especially if it's already out there. So we talk about the redirection. It's when these services, and like Mike's analogy, these services start to suffer because we don't have the funding, and then our police department isn't the best, or our park system isn't the best, and then nobody wants to move here, and then people move away, and then your revenue starts to fall off. So you take for granted a little bit all the things that are going well for Kearney, but you have to continue to support that. or they're going to try and they're going to have to somehow make it up somewhere else, or try to,
or cut, in some
yeah.
fashion. Yeah, and we've talked about that before, even particularly with law enforcement services, and we're talking about now the ability to get another canine group, or two more dogs, or am I wrong about that, or is that am I confusing that with
2 police cars?
Okay.
I got to look
2
at the
officers
graphic.
and 2 cars.
Oh, okay. I may be confusing that with there's
a picture
another
with the
election
dog.
that's coming. Oh, that's our dog right there. Yeah, that's Enzo. Yeah, that's cute. Oh, he's so cute.
You know what comes to my mind is the movie "It's a Wonderful Life." Do you remember the movie?
Yes.
Who doesn't know that movie?
Right.
And what was the name?
Pottersville.
Pottersville.
When it
right.
turned to Pottersville, it went in the pot.
I know what I'm going to do tomorrow with my life, Mr. Potter. I want to build things. I want
I can lasso the moon for you.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. You guys are getting offline here.
You want me to lasso the moon for you, Mary? Well, where were you going?
No, I just think it really is incumbent upon the community as a whole to help the city be successful, just as it is to help the school district be successful. And this community has done that. There's a long history of doing that. There is a tremendous amount of responsibility that comes with those tax dollars. We have a really strong mayor right now who is providing excellent direction for the city of Kearney, and I'm confident in his ability and the ability of the staff of the city to carry out the intended plans for these tax dollars. I know them well. I have worked with them for over a decade as a former employee of the school district, and I believe in it. I just do, right? I'm confident that those dollars are going to go where they say they're going to go.
I think this,
well, I was going to say, let's talk about just the law enforcement aspect for a minute, because right now, as we know throughout the country, the ability to hire, retain police is difficult at best. We here in Kearney have an outstanding police department, and our crime rate is very, very low, but we want to keep that. And it is crucial, and this is just one of the things that's in the 4 Ps, but it's crucial that we keep that going, because we do not want to have a police department that starts to have to suffer because they don't have the personnel. And you surely don't want to see your crime rate going up and all that sort of thing. And when you talk about, the crime and the investigation and all that, we don't have to go back too far. We had 2 things that were kind of popular, I guess. The splash pad guy who got a little paint happy, and then someone broke into someone's house. Those crimes, I mean, they were solved, fixed, and wrapped up in no time at all. And it was amusing to watch, but we take it for granted.
Quick story about the police department. When I was superintendent, we put together a task force made up of community members to look at school safety, right, and to look at planning around school safety in case of an incident, which we always hoped and prayed never happened. And as we invited people, and folks heard about this, coming out of the woodwork were all of our residents who also were law enforcement officers of some kind. And it was police, it was sheriff department, it was highway patrol, it was FBI, CIA, you name it. They were living here. And you know why they live here? It's one of the safest communities in the country, right? And that says an awful lot about our current police department. It takes dollars to do that. And as we look to our future, we have to remember that we can't take for granted how good these guys, men and women, are, and what a great job Chief Carey does. And we need to support them. It's that simple.
I think that's right. Kearney has a culture that there's a reason people move to Kearney. And I think at the top of the list, I'm pretty sure the school district has something to do with it. But There are all of the other things that we've talked about on this program today that go right along with that. It is a way of life that you have chosen. When you moved to Kearney, you just said, I got to get away from fill in the blank. And I'm going to guess it was a city that wasn't paying attention to you and perhaps was not addressing your needs because, I don't know, you might have lived in Kansas City and the government's on the other side of the river, and you know what, in a sort of general sense, and I don't mind saying it, they don't care about us here up north of the river. Well, that's changing. But there's a lot of people that said, I'm not going to put up with that anymore. And that's what we're talking about. That there is a way of life in Kearney, Missouri, that this use tax is going to it's going to maintain it for sure, but I think it will improve it. And so take what you've got right now and let's improve it. Vote yes on this use tax. And what do they call it, Shawna? The Kearney question.
Yeah, City of Kearney question.
City of Kearney question. Thank you.
Vote yes.
Thank you, Bill. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you guys.
Great having you in studio. Don't be a stranger.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you, folks, for listening. And vote yes. It's important. We believe in it. We believe in you. Thank you so much for listening to 102.7 FM and Kearney Live. We'll see you next week.